This is Grace Shelley, listening to the soothing sounds of my voice. Let me know if I should do an ASMR, but this is what I found on the internet. I have my co-pilot. This is Carlos the Frenchie. He's so good looking. Takes a lot of work, so he needs to get his beauty rest. Are you thinking of doing Uber for 2025 like so many other people are? Whether this is to supplement your income because inflation's still insane, or part of this massive layoff, like so many of us were. I decided to try it for a few days, and I have some numbers, and I pulled some other gals I found on the internet to see if this is worth it. So I'll go over some bad things, and then I'll go over some good things and some bad things. So some good things is they have a women option. So a lot of my passengers were asking me about this, and I asked them as well. Most women are not flipping that on. So most of the women ordering an Uber are not flipping it on. I've had great experiences with guy Uber drivers. I think they've all been fantastic. There was a couple of them that just didn't talk. It maybe drove a little slow when I was late, like way slow. Like it's 65 and they're driving 60 and they're just letting everybody in and you need to catch a flight. So not all of them were fantastic, but most of them were just like anybody else. They're in between gigs. They had to leave their job for some reason and are just interviewing and looking for the next chapter. So really good normal people. Just for reference too, I've covered like Santa Monica down to San Diego just because I'm familiar with it. I don't go too inland. I don't do the Coronas or the Riversides. Maybe if the fee's pretty high, but not so much. I've also found that there are times of the day. There was a couple times where I went online and I didn't get anything for an hour. Now they claim that they guarantee your fee, but you can't just flip it on for an hour and have them guarantee you. I think it's like 20 or 22 bucks an hour or something. Like you need to like actually accept your right or they'll log you off and then I don't think you get it. So I think I got $12 or something like that. So it's not. And I also, they're not the fee. Like I had a writer today and she said she was complaining. She's like, the fees are so insane. She's like, this is costing me $30. We're only going like 10 miles. Mine was like $8. That was my cut. So I suspect it's that, but also you don't need like an Uber hub. Like you have no customer service. If something happens, you're going to talk to an automated person and then no one's ever going to call you back because I had issues with the system and no one would ever call me. No one called me. There's no person. So I don't know who's paying for this. But so anyway, um, I did flip on the woman option and I think I've had all women except for two guys. And the guys were fantastic. I had one person with disabilities and he was just such a joy. And all of these people I would have over for dinner, like just instant sweethearts. Um, so if you're new to an area, this might be a good way to make some extra money or make money versus pay money and meet some people in your. I do like an organic relationship where you meet them, you hit them off, and you become friends. I know there's some like online meetups and stuff like that. It's not for me. So, so I did flip on the women. Had all of the women were fantastic with the exception for one. I did have one woman. I almost said to get out of my car because it was just a safety thing. There's one girl. Again, fantastic. It just every picked her up. She was late for an event, and she kept telling me how to drive. And she was like, "Oh, you're supposed to take this street." And I pulled up the map. I'm like, "Okay, there's no street with that name on it." 'Cause she wanted to change where the map was taking it. I said, "Okay, there's no street, but this street is kind of what you're describing." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, take it." So we're driving, and she's like, "Oh, you missed it. You were supposed to take this other one." Like, just she was being really rude. I think she was being rude, intentional. And then we're driving, and she's like, "Oh, we take Olive. Olive will take us straight there." And I was like, "Okay, I can't. The streets are like super narrow, one direction. Like I can't just turn around." She's like, "Oh, this." We were in like 2 blocks of traffic. And she's like, "This is exactly what I didn't want it." And we were like, I'm like, I was this close. And she had a friend, and her friend was not engaging. She wasn't saying anything. But I'm just like, I almost said like, "Okay, I gotta end this ride," because it was just to say she was hanging over the seat, and then just telling me to turn around in like unsafe conditions, and it was just so at one. So, however, I did do this 4 or 5 years ago. So I work in corporate America. and I was traveling a lot. My brother came down with the C word terminal. They gave him 4 months, and he's a good big brother. My whole family fell apart. Um, they were getting ready to take the kids because my sister in law was just MIA. So went from traveling to, please, can you be here in case I might need to go run and grab kids at any moment. I might get the call, you need to go to the hospital. Like, this is it. So I had to quit my job. And while I was looking, I did something like this, but the surcharges were like $76. Like, I could go work for 4 hours and make like 500. And then people were tipping really good. People are not tipping right now. I want to say maybe 20% of people back then, it's like during the big part of the shutdown, people were so grateful that there was some riders. And I remember too going out a couple times and looking for an Uber, and there was just no Uber drivers. Like, you were just it. Like, if you got an Uber to, to like a music place and it's 2 in the morning and you call an Uber, like there's just no drivers. You would be waiting around for hours. So most people are just grateful that you showed up. So, and then you had like a 76 or a $30 surcharge. I mean, like, I would make $500. It was better, you know. So, however, coming out of the shutdown, more people started going back to work. I remember two people. There was more than this, but there was two that rocked my world so hard. I was like, I'll never do this again. So over the last few years, kids need stuff. Tennis, golf, they all this crap, cars, and college. All of them want to go to some crazy college, and I don't want them to go into that school debt that you can't get out of. Um, so I want to help them. It's not like when I moved out when I was 17. You were able to afford a 2 bedroom place, like with part time work. So you cannot do that right now. I know kids that are getting apartments and they're doing like they're doubling up, sometimes tripling up. So there's 2 or 3 to 1 bedroom. That is tight. But I get it when you can't live with your parents anymore and you need to move out. I get it. So, and I think it's a good learning experience. And I mean, oh my gosh, so much fun. It was so much fun. Moving out your first place when you're young. Kids need that. They need that, something to look forward to. But anyway, I had two people 4 years ago. So I had dropped someone off in Santa Ana, and then I got like a pickup not far from there. Ladies, listen to your gut. So I get asked by a lot of passengers if this is something they should do, what I thought about it. Listen to your gut. If you get something pop up and something just in your stomach, like, just, I know there's an algorithm and there's like a percentage rate, and they're like, you can't, you have to accept every single ride. I accepted this ride, but something was like kind of digging at me. But my people pleasing side, I went and did it anyway. And I went and picked him up. It was like in a parking lot, and I think it was like a vacant building, right? And he gets into my car, and it was a single guy, and it was just really twitchy. And you can tell he hadn't showered probably in a week or more, and there was just like a chemical smell. So I suspect someone said that was meth. So, and he would just kind of like really quiet and was just kind of sitting in the passenger seat. I was just, that ride couldn't get over fast enough. It was scared because you're in such a vulnerable position. You don't know these people. The drivers are vetted. The drivers have a thorough background check, driving record, criminal record, everything. Passengers aren't. So maybe request to Uber that some of the passengers have a background check. Don't get me wrong, like, not those people that did, like, I had one friend who got in a fight when he was 18 and didn't show up to court, and now he's like, he has a felony or something. He's like the nicest person in the world. He wouldn't hurt a fly. I'm not talking stuff like that. I know some other, of course, living in LA, in Orange County, like, there's a lot of white collar crimes. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about, like, the violent criminals, theft, violent. So there was that guy, right? Nothing happened. Praise Jesus. Everything was fine. The second one. So I had dropped someone off. I think it was like an airport. It was like LAX to Laguna Beach. And I had to pick up at like a steakhouse. I remember it was Sunday. And a Sunday, and the sun was getting down. So it was like evening and time change. And I picked them up. It was a couple. And they looked relatively normal. I would say early to mid 30s. Seemed fine, got in the car. They were clearly buzzing, but as they started talking, it was not just alcohol, there was something else involved. And the guy immediately, not 2 minutes of being in the car, says, "Hey, can you stop at the store real quick?" And I'm like, "Ladies, lie your ass off. I got kids to go home too. This is my first day. I'm relatively new. I can't afford to lose my job. Do you mind doing it through the app?" He's like, no, I don't want to do it through the app because I don't want to get charged. Okay, well, when you don't do that, I get charged because the only way to make even a reasonable amount of money is having somebody in the seat going somewhere. So, and there's like a time thing. So it's already calculated the time, the lights, everything to get there. So now I'm not going to be able to drop you off fast enough and take someone else that is willing to pay. Anyway, he gets above my seat. He doesn't grab me yet, but he grabs my seat and says, you need to stop. I was scared. I just stopped. I stopped. You know, it's safety first. I assume everybody's got a weapon on them until proven otherwise. So I stopped and he's like, I'm going to leave my girlfriend here so you don't leave. So he goes in. I should have called the cops, but I didn't want to call the cops, raise concern, and then have something happen. It takes a second. I mean, look what happened in North Carolina on a train. I mean, it just takes a second. So gets back in the car and he's like, hey, I need you to stop. I think it was Gelson's over there in Laguna. I don't remember. It was some little like grocery store. And I said, look, we stopped once. I really need to go. And same thing, left his girlfriend in there and got something, came back with a bag and got in the car. And now he's getting more aggressive, like his demeanor. And I'm not really looking in the mirror because I'm petrified at this point. But I could see just out of like my peripheral where he's like laughing with his girlfriend and like, you know, acting like he was gonna punch me in the back. It's unreal. So that ride could not end fast enough. So I could finally get to the house. Thank you. He grabs me by the shirt and like starts pulling me like this, and he says, "You better give me a good review." He's like, "Or I'm gonna find you." So yeah. And someone left something like a bottle of soda in the car. He's like, I'm taking your groceries with me too. And took the groceries and left. And of course he didn't tip or anything like that. But yeah, I think I swore after that one I wouldn't ever do this again. Throughout the years I've thought about it. But yeah, I've looked at other ventures and other venues because kids are insane. You want to throw in inflation and housing and living costs and then kids. I mean, I get when people say I don't want to have kids. It's unless unless you're willing to be super rich or super poor to afford to take care of them. But anyway, my numbers for the week. So I just did this for the 3 days. This does not include mileage. This is just what the times say on Uber. They're about right. That's when I remember clocking in and out. But anyway, November 8th, which was Sunday, I worked from 6:35 till 10. I made 86.05. So this includes tips. No one's tipping. Maybe 20%, maybe $2, $5. And I did 5 trips. November 9th, I worked from 3:30 to 7:40, and I made $66. November 11th, I worked from 7:20 to 11, and that was $41. And I had 4 trips. So again, I have logged on and had nothing. I've logged on and had to go 4 cities over, so maybe 10, like 15, 20 miles to drive them 3 miles for $3. Probably not worth it. So anyway, here's some ladies I found. These are some of the things I found on the internet.
Today, Uber announcing a pilot program called Women Preferences, where women riders can choose to have a female driver. Also, female Uber drivers can set a preference for booking women riders. It'll debut in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Detroit in a few weeks. And if successful, they hope to expand this nationwide. Now, Uber has faced scrutiny in the past over safety for women riders and drivers, and the company says the Women Preferences pilot is something that's come directly from user feedback. Women want more of a sense of safety from the app. So here's how it works. For riders, they can request a female driver on demand, but it's only about 1 in 5 Uber drivers nationwide that are female, so it's not guaranteed. Or you might have to wait a longer time if you want that option. Another way to do this, riders can reserve in advance. That gives more probability that the female driver request can be honored. Or the third way is to set a preference for women drivers, which increases your chances of being matched with one. But
so there's another option on that app is you can select preferences, like they have to have a certain star rating. I give everybody 5 stars. If you're in my car and you don't give me grief, I'm going to give you 5 stars. There's only been a couple like some of the stories I've told. And then there was one lady on Sunday, and she kept trying to tell me how to drive, and oh, you missed the spot, and telling me to turn around on like these very tiny one-way streets, and oh, you missed it, and you were doing, complaining. I almost told her to get out of my car just for safety because she kept like hunching over and I'm trying to drive and keep them safe, and we were in like 2 blocks of very mild traffic, and she was very upset by this.
The most money.
So, but anyway, this lady, she kind of goes through what she's making. It's just, if anybody's watching this, if you could, and you're an Uber driver, please post like the general area. Like, don't tell the exact for safety reasons, but if you could just post like the general area and what you're averaging hourly and weekly, I would really appreciate it. So
We have ever made in a week driving for Uber, $945.62. 39 hours online, 51 trips. The total amount of tips I made that week is $89.15. 39 hours, that is, if you think about it, that's like an average work schedule, working anywhere 40-hour weeks. That's $945, that's a little under, a little under 15 an hour? I could be wrong. Y'all do the math. The most money I've ever made in a week driving for Uber, $945.62. 39 hours online, 51 trips. The total amount of tips I made that week is $89.15. 39 hours, that is, if you think about it, that's like an average work schedule, working anywhere 40-hour weeks. That's $945, that's a little under, a little under 15 an hour? I could be wrong. Y'all do the math. The most money I've ever made.
So yeah, so she's doing like 15. I found 20. So anyway,
The
there's
first
one
2
more.
weeks. April 26th, I drove for 6 hours and 45 minutes and I made $151.11. April 27th, I drove for 4 hours and 58 minutes and I made $91.68. On the 30th, I drove for 7 hours and 33 minutes and I made $115.60. On the 1st, I drove for 1 hour and 14 minutes and made $16.40. On the 2nd, I made $119.11. On the 4th, I drove for 9 hours and 8 minutes and I made $238.19. On the 6th, I drove for 6 hours and 10 minutes and made $135.73. On the 8th, I drove 4 hours and 4 minutes and made $96.10. On the 9th, I made $71.24. Finally, on the 10th, my last day of the 2 weeks, I drove 3 hours and 34 minutes and I made $84.70. I drove roughly 56 hours and my hourly breakdown before expenses ended up being about $20 an hour. Let's go over my earnings for the
Again, $20 an hour. Like $20 an hour. So I did not factor in the mileage, and you'll get your mileage. You can. So when you go to do your taxes, how it's been, and I don't know what the tax codes are changed. They seem to be changing regularly. You can either take the mileage, which is like 72 cents a mile, or you can go do the breakdown, like how much your car repairs and insurance. Insurance is insane for this, by the way. I'm spending $150. I have a perfect driving record. But that's how expensive the insurance is and it's an older car. The gas, California gas, it's $5 a gallon, no matter where you try and go and what you do. So, 10-gallon tank, it's $50 to fill up. It's SIPS gas. I get anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a gallon. The stop and go in hills, doesn't get that much. And then if there's like if it's like a lot of people or bags or something, it definitely affects the mileage. So factor that in as well. So, I hope you enjoyed it. This is Grace Shelley, and this is what I found on the internet. My trusty sidekick, Carlos the Frenchie, he worked so hard during this. It's just so good at it. So very few things in life are free. There's one thing that is hitting like, subscribe, comment, and share. You're going to help me out in this very scary chapter of my life. I would love the support. Shoot me a message. We can always chat, collab. If you have any ideas, just want to reach out and say hi. I would super appreciate it. Anyway, God bless, and we will see you next time.